And by avoiding those fibrous foods, you mitigate the chances of any blockages happening. And blockages are basically when foods, specifically like nuts and seeds and fibrous vegetables, get stuck in your stoma and causes a big sort of backlog. It can cause damage to your intestine and can just be really uncomfortable. So luckily, I've not yet run into any problems with that. So that was me 2 weeks after surgery. It's 3 weeks since that video now. As you can see, back then I was pretty positive, optimistic, some would say quite arrogant. And I regret to say that I jinxed myself with regards to the blockages, and I actually experienced my first blockage last week. I thought, whilst the memory is still fresh, that I'd run you through it, just so that I can tell you how I dealt with the blockage, and so that you can sort of learn from my mistake. Also, after I talk about the blockage, I'll just give you a brief update on how I'm recovering in general since the surgery. I've also brought along a few props for this video, just to add a dynamic visual aspect. They really don't mean much, but they're just left over from what I was using when I was trying to deal with my blockage. So what did I notice that led me to believe I had a blockage? Essentially, it started when I was walking towards the supermarket. I felt really queasy, lightheaded, and just kind of ill. My stomach was really bloated. I felt essentially constipated right at my sort of stoma site. And I immediately knew. I wouldn't worry, you will know if you have a blockage, but it's quite hard to describe what it feels like. I'd also noticed that my output that day had been basically all liquid, and I hadn't passed any sort of solid output. And if that's the case, this is what's called a partial blockage. A full or a total blockage is when you pass nothing at all, and I've been told that if you're experiencing that, you should get yourself to the hospital as soon as possible, because it can be very painful and I think quite dangerous. But as I was only experiencing a partial blockage, I decided to deal with it myself. I went online to see what other people do to try and clear their blockage, and the basic advice I saw is that if your partial blockage lasts for 24 hours, some people were saying 12 hours, then at that point you should get yourself into hospital. So first things first, I stopped eating. Luckily for me, this whole experience didn't last too long, so I only stopped eating for about 20 hours. I missed dinner the day that I realized I was having a blockage, and breakfast and lunch the next day. Number two, I drank loads and loads of water, and here comes my first prop. I went through maybe 3 of these in the first day. I don't know if you can see how big this is, but I think it's 1.8 litres. So I drank, 5-6 litres of water on the first night. And then on the second day, I just carried on drinking like that. Just drank loads and loads and loads. The idea of this is, 1, to obviously keep you hydrated throughout the process, but 2, to try and sort of flush out your system and get whatever has caused the blockage through the stoma. Number 3, I drank loads and loads of soda, fizzy water, Coca-Cola and Iron Brew. I've got 1 left over. Similar idea, you basically want to get loads of this liquid down you and let the bubbles and the gas sort of disrupt whatever is causing the blockage, and hopefully it will sort of make it all pass through. So I think I had like 5 or 6 cans of Coca-Cola or Iron Brew throughout the whole process. I'm not really complaining about that, but yeah, it's a good idea basically to drink that and loads of water to try and get it all through. Thirdly, I drank a lot of coffee. I think the day after I realized I had the stoma, I had 3 coffees in the morning and then 2 more in the afternoon. I did have a mild panic attack, but it definitely sort of helped, I think, in sort of acting as a diuretic and flushing stuff through my system. What I had noticed when I initially realized I had the blockage was obviously that I was only passing liquid. And after I started drinking the coffee, the liquid that I was passing was sort of jet black. If you experience that, don't worry. It's not a sign that anything's wrong in your body. It's just the color that coffee makes your output. Even when I don't have a blockage, if I have a few coffees, even if they're decaf coffees in the morning, my output will be pretty loose and jet black. I also did loads and loads of walking about. The day after I realized I had the blockage, I still felt pretty crappy. But I just decided to go out on a really long walk because I'd read that can kind of help your digestive system to move things through. It can also kind of lightly stretch your abdominal muscles, and I think also just sort of jumble stuff around a little bit. to allow the blocked food to move through freely. I think I went out and walked 25,000 steps around Edinburgh, which took me like 4 or 5 hours. And although I felt really pretty shit, I think it was a massive help in allowing my blockage to clear. Number 5 or 6, I had really hot baths, and I had baths without my bag on. So this was quite a scary thing to do because I'd actually not had a bath yet since surgery, just because I was kind of freaked out about how the stoma and the bag might react and whether the bag would sort of fall off and, you know, all my shit would be in the bath. But I decided to take the bag off because it wasn't really doing much anyway, because I wasn't really outputting, and have a bath and massage around the area whilst I was in the bath. I'd read that both massaging around your stoma and having a hot bath or having a hot water bottle or something hot on the site which is blocked can be really helpful. So I had a bath without my bag, and I sat in the bath for about an hour just massaging around the area, just seeing if I could loosen anything up. After an hour I did loosen stuff up a little bit and some output came out. It was pretty disgusting. I immediately got out of the bath, hopped in the shower, and cleaned myself off. But I think this was the beginning of my blockage starting to clear. And as disgusting as it was, with Crohn's disease, I've been through all sorts of disgusting experiences, and this is just the latest one. And if I had a blockage again, I would definitely do the bath and massage thing again. So after my bath, I then decided to do a bit of sort of light stretching and Pilates. I mean, really basic stuff. Just lying on my back and sort of swinging my legs from side to side, just sort of trying to twist and turn my abdominal muscles and just sort of open them up, allowing anything to pass through. When I stood up from doing these exercises, I had a pretty weird experience. I felt the pressure build up quite significantly around my stoma, and then I literally felt and heard a sort of pop, and a pretty hard sort of pebble-sized piece of potato came sort of flying out into my bag. That was the cause of my blockage. It was some potatoes and carrots that I'd cooked 2 nights earlier, and I put them in the oven. I was really impatient. I didn't let them cook enough, so they were still kind of raw. I was also really hungry, so I didn't chew my food well enough. I was just greedy. I wolfed it all down, didn't really think much of it at the time, and that is what caused my blockage. It was fairly raw, fairly poorly chewed bits of potato. So I'm sorry if you don't have a stoma or Crohn's and you find that whole story quite disgusting. I appreciate that it is. But if you do have a stoma or Crohn's, or you think you're going to have a stoma, you're probably quite used to these experiences, and hopefully me speaking about it will help you if you realize you're going through a blockage too. Also, I chewed loads of chewing gum throughout the whole day. Chewing gum, or just the act of chewing in general, starts the digestive system and induces peristalsis, which is basically the sort of muscular movement of your stomach and your intestines, sort of driving food down and through the digestive tract. Here is my prop for that. It is a 5-pack of chewing gum. So yeah, chewed that throughout the whole day, and I felt like with everything else, that kind of helped my digestive system just to keep working. So apart from that, I would say my recovery is going pretty well still. I'm just over 5 weeks since my surgery, and I'm feeling really good. I've managed to introduce pretty much all the foods that I want to introduce. I did start that a little bit early. After about 4 weeks, I started introducing more fibrous foods and sort of moving slightly away from that low fiber, low residue diet. Obviously, I made a mistake with my potatoes and carrots, but I'm sort of learning my lesson there. With regards to how I'm feeling physically, I'm feeling way better, and it is kind of a case of feeling better every day at the moment. Since I last spoke to you, I've seen 2 different physios, one of which I see in person here in Edinburgh, and he's really given me loads of confidence just to go out and sort of walk, run, cycle, swim, lift weights if I want to, without really being too worried about it. He's kind of stressed to me that I can do all these things I want to do, but just start at a really, really low and basic level. I've also been seeing a physiotherapist who does online Pilates lessons. Her name is Sarah Russell, and she runs the Ostomy Studio, which is a sort of online service where she has on-demand videos which sort of leads you through from post-surgery to beginner, intermediate and advanced. And then once a week she has live online classes with her in the same sort of categories. My first consultation with her was brilliant. She has a stoma herself, so she's really, really well versed in sort of post-surgery abdominal rehabilitation. And like the other physio, she's just given me so much confidence that I can go and do the things I want to do, and I should get started doing them as soon as possible, really, but just take it in baby steps. So that's what I've done. I've started running, running/walking, running really slowly /walking. And I've actually also just started cycling a little bit and swimming a little bit. Swimming's been the most challenging thing I've tried so far. It's really quite sore on my stomach muscles, and I am sort of getting lapped by old men and women in the pool, which is quite embarrassing. But all these things are going really well. I'm just starting really, really small and really slow. I have got an idea of making a sort of running series, so I'll go more into my running in those videos. But with everything, I'm just doing baby steps. On the mental side of things, I'd once again say that my recovery is going really well. I'm quite used to the stoma. I'm quite comfortable with the stoma. I'm quite comfortable with my bag and sort of how it works. I do still get the odd rocky moment where I sort of see the bag or the stoma in the mirror and get in quite a bad headspace about things, and sort of realise that I've got this for the rest of my life and sort of worry about things a little bit. But overall, those are pretty few and far between, and I just try and stick with the mindset that I'm doing all these things that I couldn't do for so long. I feel the best I felt in 5 years, finally sleeping well, finally eating all the food that I want to eat, and the bag is a perfectly good price to pay, and it's letting me live my life at the moment. So I hope you've enjoyed or found relatively interesting or helpful that little update. Hopefully you can learn my lesson about the blockages. Cook your food well, especially immediately after surgery. Chew it really well. Don't be a greedy pig. And like I always say, if you know anyone who's got Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, or anyone who's been through stoma surgery recently, then please share this video with them. Hopefully it helps them. Hopefully they will avoid the mistakes that I've made. And keep your eyes peeled, because I've got a few more videos coming up on general mistakes that I've made since being diagnosed with Crohn's, and other stuff to do with dealing with the stoma after surgery.